Get ready for the main event podcast. The guys are about to go live. Get ready for the main event podcast. The guys are about to go live. Get ready for the main event podcast. The guys are about to go live. Get ready for the main event podcast. The guys are about to go live. Get ready for the main event podcast. The guys are about to go live. Get ready for the main event podcast. The guys are about to go live. Get ready for the main event podcast. The guys are about to go live. Get ready for the main event podcast. The guys are about to go live. Get ready for the main event podcast. The guys are about to go live. Get ready for the main event podcast. The guys are about to go live. Get All right, we got Monday morning main event podcast coming at you here. It's 11:30-ish here on Monday, coming a little bit early at you. Busy day here. Following up with all the football action this weekend, college, NFL, and of course, we're going to discuss some NASCAR to start off the show. Since I was out there and they named some champions, should be addressed as we go through this. Of course, everyone, I'm Stephen McCollum. Thanks for watching, tuning in, and of course, listening on the podcast, Podbean, Google, Apple, all of those good deals. Absolutely. Exciting weekend of football. Not necessarily if you're an Arizona State fan, even a U of A fan since they didn't even play, or a Cardinals fan. Kind of a rough weekend, right? Absolutely. So let's get into it right off the bat. Of course, I'm actually working on this. I struggled with it. I wanted to have it for this. Probably do it Thursday. Alex Trebek, of course, passed away yesterday at the age of 80 to the pancreatic cancer. I was going to do top 5 game show hosts. I couldn't narrow it down. And I'm just talking about top 5 that I enjoyed on the shows I watched, and I couldn't narrow it down. Right? So I'm going to work on that a little bit more, possibly Thursday. Maybe Wednesday night's radio show on 1580, The Fanatic. If not, then maybe Thursday. I'll break that down a little bit on there. So, tune in to what's coming that way as it comes. Like I said, I had a hard time narrowing it down since yesterday, last night, and this morning. So I want to concentrate on a little bit more. Do it its due justice. And I'm going to leave out some great ones. Like, look, I'm not going to lie to you guys. Everybody says Monty Hall was a good game show host. I never watched it. It was well before my time. My game show recollection. He's probably not going to be on my list. Doesn't mean he was a bad one, but this is my list. I'm going to figure it out. So maybe Wednesday night, definitely by Thursday. We'll have it on there. But enough of that silliness. Yesterday, of course, this whole weekend, you had the Truck Series on Friday night. They crowned their champion. You had the Xfinity Series on Saturday. Of course, ARCA ran, but they already named them their champion, gosh, a couple weeks ago. And then Xfinity Race, they named their champion. And then, of course, yesterday, the Cup Series named their champion as they went through that. So, we're out there. I get this video off here. And if you didn't see it, you're a racing fan. A lot of stuff went down this weekend. We lost the tent. The wind took down the tent, shattered it. That tent had a life outside of Walmart of about 3 hours. Poor tent. Poor 10 by 10 tent. Pop-up tent. Poor thing. So that happened with the wind. We did some grilling, some brats on Saturday. It was a good time. I missed a truck race on Friday night. It was filling it on the blender, and it started at 6, and too much of a hassle to get out there, so I didn't go to that one. But I did see the Xfinity race, of course, ARCA, and then Xfinity race. And it was good times. It really was. So on the Xfinity race, pretty good ending on there. So I got actually the green-white checker, late yellow flag. Of course, the 7 car, Allgaier, was in there. You had Austin Cindric, who had, quite frankly, the fastest car out there all day Saturday. And I know I didn't say it, but on the Truck Series, Sheldon Creed won that on Friday night. He pitted late on a yellow flag, got 4 new tires. I believe it was 4. But he ended up getting his truck to the front in overtime restart, which, of course, means, flag came out toward the end. NASCAR does not finish on a yellow flag. Unlike those of you that saw the Indy 500 this year, they do, which I actually like. I don't like the finishing on a yellow flag. That's ridiculous. But he goes to the overtime restart. He beats Zane Smith, Brett Moffitt, and Grant Enfinger, of course, were the other 3 guys in the championship for the Truck Series. And he wins it. It was his 5th race on the season. Of course, the best. He was most wins in the Truck Series all season. So good for Sheldon Creed, 2020 Truck Series champion on a late restart. Then, like I said, Saturday came along. Cold, windy. Sun came and gone. Got a bunch of pictures with, if you follow me on Twitter or at the Main Event Pod, on my personal Twitter, I posted one picture of the sunset and everything. I have a bunch more. I just didn't work through them all since Saturday. But good sunsets out there. The wind was blowing, a little chilly. No rain on Saturday, though. But Cindric, he's 22 years old. Austin Cindric, 2020 champion Xfinity Series. He, of course, yellow flag late. He caught Justin Allgaier, who was in the lead there with 1 to go. Stuck his nose in between him and, I believe it was Justin Haley. Passed him. Was in second place going into turn 1 and 2 on the final lap. Passed I believe it was Haley on the backstretch to get the victory there. So it was Cindric's 6th win of the season. It was, incidentally enough, his 100th Xfinity start also. So he'll be back on the Xfinity Series next year. And then I'm pretty sure he's in the Xfinity Series next year. And then he's going to go to the Cup Series in 2022. So 1 more year in the Xfinity Series. And heck of a driver. Extremely fast. In fact, I recorded the green-white checker, which, of course, means 1 green lap, then the white flag for another lap. So last 2 laps of the race, for those of you not in the racing circles. I zoomed in as much as I could. Let's see how this works out. About a minute. It's at the restart is when the video starts. When you first see the cars come down towards us, that's turn 1 and 2. You'll see the yellow car. I'll call it yellow. It's like a neon green car. That is Cindric's car. And then when you see him get to turn 3 and 4, which is the other end, and I zoom in, you'll see him stick his nose in between the two cars to pass Allgaier. Then you'll see him in second place in 1 and 2 again. You'll see him pass the car in the lead there on the backstretch and going into 1 and 2 before he wins it. Let's just watch it. It's from my cell phone. It's nothing professional. From our seats in the outfield. Anyway, let's watch the last couple of races. They're about a minute long, so bear with it, and let's go ahead and watch it. And I'll try to narrate it too. Not a play-by-play guy by any stretch. So the restarts happened. Coming down to turn 1. Allgaier's the red car there, the 7 car. Right beside on the other side. This is turn 3 here where you go, and you see the yellow car right there, the 22, stick his nose in between those two cars. Of course, here coming down to turn 1 again. Now in second place, Allgaier falls back, tries to go low. Second place now. Side, the car in first place. Here, 2 turns to go. Gets the lead. Coming out of turn 3, as you can see. And crossing the start-finish line there to win the championship for the Xfinity Series. It was that close to a finish of a race. Fantastic ending. The late yellows in NASCAR sometimes get, bad rap. But it made it exciting, so good for him. Of course, yesterday you had the Cup Series. Got there a little early. It sprinkled a little bit around noon on me there on the hill, as they call it, Rattlesnake Hill. Small sprinkles, nothing major. Then the National Anthem happened. And what is exciting about National Anthem in NASCAR is get a nice flyover of from Luke Air Force Base at the end of the National Anthem. Always fun, regardless of what Joe Buck and Troy Aikman say, right? On there, it's fun times. Then race goes on, and I mean this race was good racing. There was a lot of racing involved. Not very many cautions, so it was a lot of green flag time, a lot of regular lap time. And, I mean, Joey Logano, who I picked on Thursdays, you guys know that follow it. I picked Joey Logano to win this race. He dominated the first half of this race, was fantastic. His car faded a little bit there toward the end. Every time he got new tires, it would pick up and then fade again. And then Chase Elliott had to start in the back of the race because they failed inspection twice pre-race. Got through it on the third time of inspection, but he did have to start in the very back. Made his way up to the front pretty quickly in racing terms. Got to the front there. He had the fastest car of the day. The other two playoff drivers, Denny Hamlin, and of course, I just forgot his name. Brad Keselowski, there we go. Weren't really in it at all. Brad got into it late. Brad Keselowski in the 2 car got into the race a little bit late toward the front. But for most of the race, he wasn't even involved in the front at all, including Denny Hamlin. So, but it became a good race at the end. No late yellow in this one. And Chase Elliott just, with 10 to go, you could just see it was his race to win. And he went out there and did it. It did cap his first championship of the Cup Series. He is a young 24 years old. I believe he is the 3rd youngest driver to win a championship in NASCAR at 24. Always voted the most popular driver in the circuit, and that's obviously going to continue now that he's won. See what happens in the future for him. So Hendrick Motorsports, of course, Chevrolet, won that. It's his 5th victory of the season. And like I said, his second, as I said last week, I picked him as my sleeper pick, quote unquote, because I was really impressed that they had to win in Martinsville last week in order to make the championship four. I thought that gave the team a lot of confidence. They had a really good system. They were coming into this on a high. Even starting in the back of the field, you could just kind of feel the excitement from them. And that momentum continued through from the Martinsville victory into this game, into this race, and it was a fantastic finish by him. He was my quote-unquote sleeper pick because I said keep an eye on him. I wasn't willing to pick him outright just because Logano was good here in March, and he's been good a lot lately, and he had a really fast car. But I couldn't sleep on Chase. Just had a good feeling about him going into this as well. My pick for the first when the playoff brackets first happened, I did have Denny Hamlin in there. And like I said, his car, they just couldn't compete with the Chase Elliott's car there or anything like that as he wins his first championship out at Phoenix Raceway. So good for the young 24-year-old. Absolutely. Good job for him as he goes forward. Intern on Facebook says she has a best host list, and Alex is definitely in her top 5. Well, get me your list. All Access crew. Like I said, might do it Wednesday night, might do it Thursday. We'll see. I might actually extend it to top 10 because some of these hosts that some people don't know were just so good in my memory and enjoyable. Like the supermarket sweep guy, not the new supermarket sweep, but the old one, whatever his name was, fantastic. He did that fantastic. So put your list together. Send it over, All Access crew. We'll do this. And then she also says, that video with the sunset behind, awesome. Yeah, I did a good job of getting that sunset, making that sunset work and getting it in there. It's all good. Also, I took a good picture. I got to toot my own horn because nobody else does it. I took a really good picture of Jason, of course, a.k.a. Chief. Him smoking a cigar and posing like he does, Everybody else is all natural when they take pictures like that, but he's got to pose and everything. But anyway, I told him last night when I gave him the picture, I better get credit for it. He gave me credit on Facebook. Then on the radio show, Bruce is going on and on and on about how great of a pick it is. Nothing to thanks Big Steve for making me look good in a picture. Nothing. But anyway, I'm not posting pictures of him on my deal, so if you want to see it, search it out on your own. Geez. So, right. NASCAR weekend. NASCAR's over till what? February, until all the festivities around Daytona, all that fun jazz. Interesting year. We can go into it. Y'all know what the story was with them doing multiple dates. The no practice days I loved was phenomenal. It really changed the series. It took away the advantage of the highly funded teams and the way they were able to set the car up during practice. And I loved how that took the advantage away from those guys. And glad to see NASCAR's doing that for a lot of races next year, where it's just show up and race, guys, and see what can happen. So next year will be a fun year to watch for NASCAR with a bunch of new tracks coming in. But enough of NASCAR. Let's move on. College football, of course. Exciting weekend. College football, some good games. I had that conspiracy theory about Notre Dame Clemson. I don't necessarily believe it before, but I think I believe it now, and I'll get into why I believe it even more now when we talk about some playoff things I was looking at today, right? But as I'm sitting there getting ready for college football stuff, right, and everything, it pops up. I'm looking at the top 25 for this week and everything, and lo and behold, college football starting November 25th, so we're just a few weeks out. And then you guys all know how much I hate preseason polls. Hate them. Waste of time, garbage. They always rank teams super high that shouldn't be super high. They lose a couple of games, fall out of it, waste of time. Guys that aren't ranked can win, and they get up there and they get high in the polls, but they can't go too high because the polls screwed them out of it early on, right? But the men's college basketball poll does come out today. AP Top 25 college basketball preseason poll. So, of course, I looked at it because the Sun Devils, ASU, is going to have a really good team. They have a lot of high recruits. They have a lot of guys that are coming in. This team is supposed to have high expectations. And I was curious, at least here locally, right? And I looked into it and I was like, hey, what's the national perspective of the Sun Devils going into this year? They have Gonzaga ranked number 1 in there. 28 first place votes. Number 2, Baylor. 24 first place votes. Third, Villanova, 11 first place votes. Then Virginia's fourth and number 1. The issue with this is we got to pay attention to this. Is ASU is in a conference, is in a tournament to start the basketball season, and Baylor and Villanova are both in that thing. So ASU has a very tough opening couple games here coming up here to start the college basketball season. Right? Then 5 is Iowa, Kansas, Wisconsin, Illinois, Duke, Kentucky, Creighton, Tennessee, Michigan State, Texas Tech, West Virginia, North Carolina, Houston. Then we get to Arizona State at 18. Are they the first Pac-12 school listed? They are. They're the first Pac-12 school listed at number 18. So it tells you what the national pictures of their recruits they got this year, the expectations of them. There are high expectations here, at least in Tempe and in Phoenix area. Oregon's 20. It goes Texas at 19. Oregon is 20. Florida State, then 22 is UCLA. That's all the Pac-12 teams ranked there. So it kind of tells you where they stand. Is they obviously thought enough, talents thought well enough that they're in the top 25, but 18, Emmett, top of the Pac-12 bubble, right? Nationally. So just a little food for thought. Like I said, I don't pay attention to a lot of preseason polls by any stretch. I think they're a complete waste of time because you come out. Like ASU's going to come out. They got to play Baylor or Villanova in this conference, in this big tournament thing, right? And they can start the season 0-2, and then they drop out of the poll. But it's not an indication that they're not good. They're just playing 2 of the best top 4 teams according to the tournament there, right? So anyway, just want to touch on that real quick here. Yeah, it popped up this morning, and I was like, hey. Wonder where ASU's ranked. There we go. Couple weeks out, we'll know. Let's see what happens as we go forward on that. So back to football. Me and Mikkel got together. We're doing our college football picks. Boy, I wish I didn't do this. Wow. And yeah, intern says, Chief gave you photo cred for the picks on Insta, but not on 1580. Yeah, I know. I texted him. Still didn't get any credit for it. I made him look good, like I do. I make people look good, and don't get credit for it. But whatever, it is what it is. I'll remember that next time. I'm just distracting from the college pick'em. So me and Mikkel, all access crew versus host. Mikkel, we had Michigan at Indiana, ASU at USC. Florida versus Georgia, and that's a neutral site game in Jacksonville. Arizona at Utah. Clemson at Notre Dame. Right off the bat, we lost one game. Arizona at Utah was canceled this weekend. Utah was hit by the COVID. Couldn't field enough scholarship players. Game canceled. So the 5-game college pick'em ends up being 4 games this week. Indiana beat Michigan. We're going to talk about Jim Harbaugh this week. If not today, definitely Wednesday or Thursday. I'm putting some stuff together on Jim Harbaugh and the expectations for that school. Just, a little fun. Everybody's picking on Harbaugh a little bit, saying he needs to go. I don't know if I'm arguing. I don't know if I'm going to argue the fact that he should stay because I think maybe it is time to go. But why is that dangerous for Michigan? Because who are you going to have to replace him? You got to think hard about this because of the way Michigan's been with other coaches. But anyway, I'll get into that later. The question is Indiana as good as they started the season? Apparently, you're as good as your record is, right? Of course, USC, if you watch this, beat ASU late in that game by 1 point. Funny story about this is I'm watching the game at the racetrack, cooking brats. Sitting there, ASU's up by whatever it was, 13. Like a couple minutes to go. So I turn it off, start doing other stuff. Jason asks what the score is. Chief does. I go, no, ASU's about to win it. He looks it up and he goes, what do you mean they're about to win it? You're pretty confident. They're down by 1. I said, ASU's down by 1? So I look at my phone. I'm like, what the hell happened? What happened? I go, something big just happened. Because they were just up by like 2 touchdowns. If you were watching it, you saw it. We'll talk about that here in a minute. Disappointing. We had Florida versus Georgia. Florida won that game big. Arizona, Utah, like I said, did not play. And then Clemson at Notre Dame. Of course, Notre Dame won that game. So if you're doing the math here, I picked Michigan, I picked ASU, I picked Georgia, and I picked Clemson. I started off the college pick'em 0-4. Wow. Boy, that was brilliant of me, wasn't it? Whew. I almost feel like the All Access crew does when they pick their NFL games. Do a little digging there for him. I'm going to get yelled at for that one. 0-4 to start my pick'em. Right? All so much fun. Yay team, go team, whatever. 0-4. I was shocked by that Georgia score. Of course, one of the big things on that Georgia score was, a couple big Georgia players got hurt. I pick them. Yeah, I figured. Miguel says, cheap shot. Hey, man, he didn't go 0-4, so I took a cheap shot to make myself feel better. So, Miguel on this one here. I'm already in a hole here. No wins on the season. He went 2-2. Florida, Notre Dame, he picked them. His losses were Michigan and ASU. So he's up on me by 2 games here in the college pick'em. See what happens this week as we go into this weekend. I'm going to wait a little bit closer, Wednesday or Thursday for those, because I also don't want to pick any games that get canceled again. In the Pac-12, you never know, right? As we go. Back to the ASU game. I already filled you guys in on that, right? And if you watched the game, this game was so disappointing. They pretty much dominated the game. ASU did. They, had the lead. They were doing good. Fourth quarter comes along. Allow USC to score 14 points late. If you saw it, ball gets thrown up in the air. Offsides. USC, Slovic throws the ball to the end zone. ASU defends it well. Ball gets popped up into the air by the receiver. USC guy's just standing there and the ball falls in his hands, right? Bummer. That happens, right? That happens. What are you going to do about it? That makes it 27-21 with the extra point. Bad things like that happen. I get it. Onside kick. SC recovers the onside kick. Get the ball back. 2 minutes, 49 seconds left in the fourth. 27-21. That happens also. Onside kick recovery by the team kicking it, unfortunately, I think is a lot of times a coaching thing. But then USC hits he wasn't even open. It was a pretty good defense. Hits Drake London across the middle. Ties it up 27-27. It's a good throw. He had 2 defenders in front of him. Ball had to be placed perfect. USC quarterback did a great job of sticking it in there. Even ASU's defensive back put his hands out to kind of grab the deal, grab the ball. Guy just held on to it. ASU loses by 1 at that point. Because then their next offense was just not good. Throwing the ball into the ground, overthrowing guys. I wasn't too enthusiastic about the play calls on those last drives. But disappointing. Just utter disappointment to lose that way. 28-27 to USC. When they dominated the whole game except for the last 3 minutes or so. So just bummer, disappointment. I was thinking about doing a ASU, podcast. Of course, kind of like what I do with the Cardinals one, where I review the game before and preview the next game up. I might still do that, but I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I'm still like, it's affecting me how ASU lost this game. I don't even know how to respond to it. It's that ridiculous. It's not ridiculous that we're talking about ASU loss today. Right? So that happened. The whole schedule from the weekend, we had our 5-game picks there. Of course, it ended up being only 4. I like how the All Access crew has banded together against me. Intern says, "Go ahead, laugh all you want. Go All Access crew." And then she says, which I'm not even contributing to for the college picks. She's like, "But still." So All Access crew is banding against me. That's just going to make me talk more trash. Have fun with that. Because I have the microphone. All in good fun. Hopefully I don't have a repeat like last year where I just get dominated in college. It looks like it with my 0-4 start, right? So, other games that happened this weekend of note, Ohio State beat Rutgers 49-27. Justin Fields is doing Justin Fields things, right? As I said, Texas A&M's the team to watch. And the SEC, man, they could sneak into this deal here. Number 7 ranked, beat South Carolina 48-3. Oregon beat Stanford 35-14. I did not watch that game, but I was following it a little bit, and Oregon looked a little off for a lot of that game. First game jitters, something to keep an eye on. Oklahoma State rebounded from their loss, that they shouldn't have lost last week, but they only won by 2 against Kansas State. Big 12 just is awful right now. Of course, a lot of people are watching Coastal Carolina, ranked 15. They won. They beat South Alabama 23-6. A lot of ranked teams. No real upsets. Oklahoma killed Kansas 62-9. So Oklahoma's offense came back in this one after some horrible losses earlier. Texas beat West Virginia. Of course, same situation for Texas as they go. Liberty was ranked this year for the first time in a long time, if ever, right? Hugh Freeze is the head coach at Liberty. Liberty goes into Virginia Tech, wins by a field goal, 38-35. Of course, 51-yard field goal is how Liberty beat Virginia Tech with 1 second left in regulation. They kicked it. They win it. Now, granted, it is Virginia Tech, but man, Hugh Freeze is getting so much good vibes right now for getting the Liberty Flames to 7-0. And this week they moved up from 25th in the rankings to 22, I believe. We'll cover that here in a minute. So Liberty, Hugh Freeze and Liberty is getting a lot of play right now with that victory over Virginia Tech by 3, 51-yard field goal. Fantastic. Good job. North Carolina continues its winning ways. I know they've had some couple bad losses, but they beat Duke this weekend. I'm just following that because with Texas's struggles, they got rid of Mac Brown, and he's doing a good job in North Carolina, so we're following that one. Northwestern beats Nebraska. That should never happen in the college football world, but it did this weekend. Nebraska's just another bad team. Just another bad year for Nebraska. They can't do anything to get on the right track. Is it the conference? Is it the coaching? I think combination of both, probably. They don't match up well. But Nebraska should not be losing to Northwestern, even though Northwestern's back this year. Horrible year last year, and they're back this year. Michigan State beat Michigan last week. Here's the problem with Jim Harbaugh, Michigan. They lost to Michigan State last week. Michigan State lost to Rutgers to begin the season. Michigan State's not a good team. They lost at Iowa 49-7. Michigan State's not a good team. They went and they dominated that Michigan team last week. So they went in. Michigan's young, but this does not look good for the Michigan faithful that have high expectations. Penn State's not a good team either. We thought Penn State was going to be good this year. They're not. Maryland beat them 35-19. Maryland, I believe that's their first win. Oh, no, they're 2-1. Sorry. They lost to Northwestern. That's right. They beat Minnesota, and then they just beat Penn State. So they are 2-1. I forgot they beat Minnesota. But Maryland's not good. That, of course, is Tua Tagovailoa's brother quarterbacking that team. Penn State's 0-3 on the year, and they were expected to have a great year this year. Penn State's not good from what you expected. Illinois, last year, first bowl game in, I'm going to exaggerate, but like 100 years last year. They lost to Minnesota. But not only did they lose to Minnesota, they lost to Minnesota 41-14. Illinois is 3-0. They lost to Purdue week before, and then to Wisconsin. Well, Wisconsin's a good team. Before Wisconsin had a couple games canceled due to COVID on there. But Illinois had decent expectations this year. Lovie Smith right back down to, he saved his job last year, right back to 0-3 this year. As he went through that, right? In the Pac-12, you had UCLA at Colorado. Colorado beat UCLA. Chip Kelly, 48-42. Colorado's not a good team. UCLA's not a good team. I don't know what's going on. How many years has Chip Kelly been in UCLA now? It's been 3? He should have his own players in there at that point. One other side note here. Utah didn't play this weekend, of course, because of COVID. But they were supposed to play this Friday night against UCLA, and Utah are supposed to play this Friday night. The game was moved from Friday to Saturday morning because of the COVID issues that happened in Utah. They're trying to give them enough time to rebound, I guess, and be ready for this game this weekend, so they're giving them the extra day. Other Pac-12 news, Washington State beat Oregon State. Washington State has a new head coach there, of course, with Mike Leach going to the SEC and getting shellacked there. True freshman starting for Washington State, gets his win in his first game against Oregon State. So good for them. Good for them. College football, for me, starts off rough. I'm 0-4. Things happen. What are we going to do with life? Just a game. So we'll break that down a little bit more as we get a little farther on. But the AP Top 25, of course, comes out on Sunday after the weekend of games. Coaches Poll comes out also. I tend to pay attention to the AP more than the Coaches Poll because coaches don't vote. They give it to other people to vote. And they do tend to they vote higher, their conference teams higher, so that way they look better when they beat them. And that's kind of just playing the game a little too much, rigging the system a little too much for me. So I do tend to follow the AP. Of course, with Clemson losing, they drop down to, from the number 1 spot down to the 4 spot. Notre Dame moves up from the 4 spot to the 2 spot. And Notre Dame gets 2 first-place votes. Folks, did you watch that game? Notre Dame had to take Clemson with a freshman quarterback, DJ. I can't pronounce his name. I've never heard it. I was watching it at Buffalo Wild Wings after Saturday's racing, so I don't even know how to pronounce his name. But Notre Dame had to go to 2 overtimes to beat Clemson with the backup, true freshman starting quarterback. Clemson's defense is god awful, and they still had to go 2 overtimes to beat them. Notre Dame is not a number 1 team in the country. They're not. Not at all. And my conspiracy theory is alive. Notre Dame beat Clemson. They both went out, which they're going to do probably. They're going to meet again. Clemson will beat Notre Dame. So Clemson will beat the either number 1 or number 2 ranked team in the country. They both can go in the playoffs, and I got something to back that up here also. Some more. Remember that? Ohio State is ranked 3rd, where they've been all along. They're not going to move up unless Alabama or Notre Dame lose. As we go through that. BYU moved up to number 8 from the 9th spot. I keep telling you guys, keep an eye on BYU. They're dominating the teams they're playing. They're a really good team. Cincinnati's the other Power 5 conference that's ranked ahead of BYU. So the win, if they get up, I don't remember what ranking it is, but they get up high enough, they can make into this. Cincinnati moved down to number 7, even though they won this weekend. Florida moved ahead of them this week when they dominated Georgia, even with the 1 loss. Indiana's 10. They moved up from 13. They're 3-0. Is Indiana this good? Penn State's not good. They beat Penn State. Penn State hasn't good. They're 0-3 in their games this year. Right? They beat Rutgers. Rutgers isn't good. They beat Michigan State, but Michigan State's not good, right? And then Indiana just beat Michigan, who's not good. Michigan's just trash. The fact that Michigan was ranked 23 going into this game was probably a travesty. But Michigan's not good. Then Indiana has Michigan State this weekend. They can win that game. They can start 4-0. Problem is, then they got Ohio State. That's probably a loss. So 4-1. Then they're Maryland. Maryland they can beat. That's 5-1. Wisconsin, if Wisconsin can even play, who knows? Let's say that's a loss. That's 5-2. And then Purdue at home, they can beat Purdue. Indiana's good this year, man. They're gonna have a good schedule. They're winning when they have to, right? Coastal Carolina, 15. They stay at 15. Oklahoma State stayed at 14. Wisconsin moved down 3 spots, of course, because they haven't been playing. Georgia moved down 7 spots with the blowout loss to Florida to number 12. Oregon moved up 1 with their win over Stanford over the weekend. So they're now number 11. Oklahoma moved up a spot. They switched spots with SMU, basically. So Oklahoma with 2 losses are 18th. SMU with 1 loss dropped down 1 to 19. SC is stayed at 20 with their, whatever you want to call it, win over ASU. Liberty moved up from 25 to 22. Hugh Freeze! So 7-0 Liberty. It's now ranked 22 in the nation. Northwestern was unranked. Now they are ranked at 23. Auburn stayed at 24. And then Louisiana sneaks into the top 25. Interesting thing about this is when you look at others receiving votes, right? ASU lost to USC in horrific fashion late in the game, where they allowed them to come back 13 points down. ASU still got 11 votes to be ranked, even with a loss. Utah got 33, even though they're not even playing. They didn't play. So the AP comes out, right? We're talking about this. I have this big conspiracy theory about the Notre Dame Clemson deal. Notre Dame does their part. They win it. Like I said, we're going towards two ACC teams into the playoffs. So ESPN started their bowl predictions this week. We're going to look just at the we don't care about the other bowl predictions. I wouldn't even look at this except for the fact that I was curious who Kyle Bonagura and Mark Schlabach picked for the deals, right? I'm just curious who they have in the matchups here, right? They both have the championship the same. but they have the semifinals different. So, my conspiracy theory is Notre Dame beats Clemson without Trevor Lawrence. They both win out. They play each other in the ACC championship game. Notre Dame's undefeated. They'll be ranked 1 or 2. Clemson will then beat them with a full healthy team if that's available. And then Clemson will vault up from the third or fourth spot up into 1 or 2. And Notre Dame would fall down to like the 4th spot, right? That's my conspiracy theory I'm running with. College football playoff semifinal at the Rose Bowl. Bonagura, if I'm mispronouncing his name, I'm sorry. I don't know what it is. He's got Notre Dame versus Ohio State in one of the semifinal games today. Schlabach has Clemson versus Ohio State in that game. So they both have Ohio State making it. It's just matter they're playing one of the 2 ACC teams, right? If you're noticing my trend here. In the other semifinal game in the Sugar Bowl in New Orleans, Bangura has Alabama versus Clemson. And Schlabach has Alabama versus Notre Dame. Told you guys, Conspiracy Theory Steve here just came out. ACC set this up so two teams can ACC teams can make the playoffs. Incidentally, they both have the national championship being Ohio State versus Alabama. So while they both make the playoffs, they both lose also to Ohio State and Alabama. So this is going to be something I'm going to watch. I'm just curious how, how this goes for these teams. Conspiracy Theory Steve. Yeah, I mean, Mikkel, you're exactly right on this. Mikkel says Clemson won't just beat Notre Dame. They will destroy them with Lawrence. Absolutely. I agree 1,000%. I mean, Notre Dame to win this game and go to win this game 2 overtimes with a freshman quarterback. Clemson's offense didn't do a whole bunch, and Notre Dame still barely beat them. Now with Trevor Lawrence in there, they become a whole different team. And I agree with you. They'll just destroy them. But it's just my way of saying, unless something else happens with another team, maybe Texas A&M can break into that over the next couple of weeks, because Texas A&M is a dominating team right now, and they're really good in that SEC. Now, granted, they're not going to go to the championship game, SEC championship game. They can't unless they beat Alabama. But setting up for 2 ACC teams, and you see it right there. With Notre Dame winning on Saturday, 2 ESPN guys, college football guys, pick them right off the bat to get into the playoffs. Hope I'm wrong, because Notre Dame's going to get destroyed by whoever they play. I'm just not impressed with them. Now, granted, I didn't sit down and watch this whole game. I guess I was at Buffalo Wild Wings watching it on television with no sound. I want to go back and watch it, but I just don't think Notre Dame's they're not in the level, and they don't think so either, because they don't think they can beat either Ohio State or Alabama. So they agree with me on that. It's just getting them into that playoff to watch them get blown out is not something I'm excited about. So anyway, college football, we'll keep an eye on that conspiracy theory as we go through the season here, because, is what it is. Nothing you can do about it now. Clemson should have won that game, though, man. It would have been great if they would have pulled that out with the way it is. Because then you would have Notre Dame would have only fallen one spot, but you know what I mean. All right, let's get into some good stuff, right? The big boy football. Let's get into the NFL. Week 9 was a pretty good week with football, right? My picks were atrocious. Everybody's picks were atrocious. Lots of upsets again this week. Same as last week, right? Let's get into the 5-game pick'em here. Let's just get the picks out of the way, because quite frankly, guys, I keep forgetting to go to them at the end because I get all into the games and I forget to go back to it. So I put them first this week, right? So first, we have the hosts, right? Me, Adam, Kaler. It's called the host. I couldn't think of a cool name like All Access Crew. We all went 2-3. We all had the Titans. We all had the Ravens. I'm sorry, no. Me and Kaylor had the Titans and the Ravens. Adam picked the Ravens and the Saints right. Boy, was that Saints pick right. Woo! Welcome to the Tom Brady to the NFL, right? And AB. Of course, me and Kaylor lost to Seahawks, Bucks, and Dolphins. Adam lost with the Bears, Seahawks, and Cardinals. All Access Crew. Ready? You guys know what you did. Intern 2-3. She won on the Ravens and the Titans. And she lost on the Dolphins, Bucks, and Seahawks. I'm sorry, Dolphins, Bucks, and Seahawks, yeah. Miguel kicked my butt in the college one at 2-2. 1-4, man. 1-4. Woo! Going back to this year, Miguel says, the only way Notre Dame gets into playoffs is if they keep the game within 7 points, and that's not going to happen against Clemson. Now, if they're ranked 1 or 2 and they get blown out, it's Notre Dame, man. You can see a scenario. But it also depends what's around them, too. So that's why we got to get a little bit farther there. And I'm being told to move along with his 1-4 NFL picks. I think we're going to dissect this a little bit here. I'm going to spend some time on this. We'll do the overall one next week again and see where everybody stands overall because it got a little ugly there for a while. But these last couple of weeks in pick'ems has been rough for everybody. Lots of upsets, a lot of things that have happened that we're all shocked by as we go. But as always, just got to shake your head at that point. Some quick news coming out because the injury reports are starting to come out this week, right? McCaffrey came back yesterday for the Panthers. Hurt his shoulder in the fourth quarter. Got to wait till later in the week to see how bad it is, if he can come back. He looked good yesterday. But when he hurt that shoulder, right, coming back. Did you guys see Kyle Allen? Okay, if you're eating, don't look at this. If you don't like gruesome things, don't watch this. Did you guys see Kyle Allen's ankle yesterday? Well, pay attention. Here it comes. You're warned. Here it comes. If you're squeamish.
Antonio Gibson, he tries to cut block Jabril Peppers. Jabril Peppers sort of gets over it, and then, as you see, kind of leg whips Kyle Allen at the end there, and that doesn't look good.
Ankles aren't supposed to turn that way. Should I replay it a few more times for everybody, like they do on the broadcasts? So the interesting factor about this, right? That looked worse than Dak's injury did earlier, but I think it's because he got the camera angle right, where you could see it better. He's got to have surgery in the next few days, and the Washington football team is saying that he might be eligible to come back later in the year. But the thing that struck me when I saw the injury yesterday, when I was sitting at NASCAR and just watching some games early on, waiting for the race to get started, was when that happened, their backup is Alex Smith. What kind of mental fortitude does it take to have your leg shattered like he did, your femur, go through all the surgery, all the comeback stuff he did? Now he's standing there and he sees the starting quarterback's ankle turn like that, right? And then you got to get ready to go in. What kind of mental fortitude does it take to block that out of your head and go in there and play football? Right? Absolutely. So that was Kyle Allen yesterday. And Ron Rivera came out today and said season injury talk is, quote, premature for Kyle Allen. If he goes back, that'd be amazing, right? AB started last night. Antonio Brown started last night for the Buccaneers. Didn't help him, did it? We'll get into that here in a minute. Dalvin Cook has decided it's time to play NFL football last week and this week. Dude is on fire. Dude is unstoppable. They should rename them the Minnesota Cooks. That running back is on fire right now, right? Tua came in to Arizona. Did things we didn't see from him last week, right? Granted, Cardinals defense was beat up. Talk a little bit more about that. Then I'll get to the podcast later on the week and break this down. Because if I was to do the podcast right now, I would be super negative on this team. And here's what I'm waiting for, and I'm going to read some stuff up today, what's said now today. And I'm actually going to go back and watch the game either tonight or tomorrow morning. But I'm wondering if I'm too harsh on them today. And the reason why I'm saying that is that's secondary. 3 of their 4 starting secondary members were out yesterday. They had new players in there. Marcus Golden was in there, right? Thompson was back for the first time in a long time. I just want to go back and see. I mean, injuries, you don't want to blame losses on injuries, but if it's a factor, you got to bring it up as a factor. Cardinals should have won that game. Of course, that fumble by Kyler early in that game gave the Dolphins defense 7 points right off the bat. And they lost the game by less than 7. Turnovers. When the Cardinals lose and the turnovers happen, they lose because of the turnovers, at least in terms of the points. So like I said, I want to sit down and actually concentrate on it because today I would just be absolutely – these 4th and 1 play calls are driving me nuts. I understand you want to be this smart offensive guru and make these awesome awesome play calls. Stop it. Andy Isabella going negative yardage in that situation. What are you doing? But Tua looked pretty good with no running back there. He was able to scramble, make right decisions. Defense wasn't able to confuse him, that's for sure. Pittsburgh barely survives their bout in Dallas. Pittsburgh's in trouble, folks. I'm going to say this now. What are they, 7-0 now? 8-0 now? 7-0, I think? Or are they 8-0? Anyway, they're undefeated. I think they're 8-0. Pittsburgh defense is getting injured, and they're going to become more vulnerable as the season goes on. That if they keep at this pace, obviously they're going to make the playoffs. They're going to be a high seed. They might be in trouble. Their defense is getting destroyed with injuries and things like that, and this is going to affect this team. And Big Ben yesterday, not yesterday, but the week before, he had the elbow issue, and they were massaging his elbow. Yesterday, takes a hit in the knee, goes out, comes back in. But these are things happening to the Steelers that you're seeing. And they're winning these games right now, it's going to catch up to you eventually. Something to keep an eye on. Just throwing it out there on Pittsburgh. So let's get into it. Before we, so let's get into, talked about the picks, obviously. Everybody struggled a little bit on the picks. That's fine. It happens, guys. It's all right. It happens. We'll catch up on the overall later on. When we all have better days. Picking. Last night, of course, the Saints were at Tampa Bay. Weather was bad, windy, rain. Drew Brees gets the NFL career TD passes record back from Tom Brady. The Saints have now swept the Buccaneers. 38-3, by the way, was the game last night. Game was never in contention. Tampa Bay looked like hot trash from the opening kickoff. Tom Brady was out of sync with Gronk. Tom Brady was out of sync with everybody. If Tom Brady was handed some laundry from Giselle, he would have dropped that. He would have somehow done something wrong with that last night. Michael Thomas came back for the Saints. Emmanuel Sanders came back for the Saints. Taysom Hill looked really good last night. Where's he been? Alvin Kamara looked good last night. I mean, nobody dominated the game by any stretch, but they all had good games. And this is what the Saints offense is that they've been missing. Michael Thomas, I keep saying there's something wrong with him. Like he got injured, then he hit that guy on the team, so he got suspended, quote unquote, and then he's been out the last couple of weeks with quote unquote an injury. It's like there's something wrong with this kid in his head. I don't know what it is, but when he's in there, that offense runs smooth and good, and they showed it last night. Michael Thomas apparently is the key to that Saints offense, right? Drew Brees Set the tone early. Buccaneers were blitzing left and right. Didn't phase them at all. All right, whatever. 4 touchdowns last night. So he's 3 up on Brady now for the touchdown lead. And like I said, more importantly, Saints are in first place in that division, but they swept the Bucs, so they have tiebreakers and all that stuff. It's the Saints division to lose now. And as I said early in the season, my bold prediction was Tampa Bay is going to win 10 games. But it's going to be a roller coaster ride. They're going to look good when they win, and they're going to look awful when they lose. And it's coming true. When you put this type of hodgepodge team together, now adding Antonio Brown, you tend to not be a fluid team. And then the question will be, how are they going to look in the playoffs when we get to that? Are they going to be able to put it together or not, right? That type of stuff. Cameron Jordan, by the way, for the Saints is a stud back there. Just a stud. Antonio Brown, incidentally, did have 3 catches for 31 yards. Here's the good news for Antonio Brown. Is he had 3 catches for 31 yards and didn't cause problems. The problem for Antonio Brown is he was just like everybody else on that offense. They did nothing. Nothing at all. Nothing at all. Like the whole offense did nothing. And Antonio Brown was part of that. So is he going to elevate his game to be the Antonio Brown that he thinks he is? Or is he just going to be like everybody else on the team and not perform? Right? So that was that game, right? Steelers, Cowboys, we already talked about this one. Steelers, injuries are mounting on them. But Ben did play better after he went out and had his knee looked at in the locker room, right? Absolutely. Here's the thing, though. I was joking with Chief yesterday. Dallas found the quarterback of the future, man. Garrett Gilbert, baby. He took a lot of pressure yesterday. He took a lot of pressure, and he did good things with it for the most part. He did have that horrible interception. He did throw into double coverage a lot. The interception at the end, fourth quarter there, in the end zone was really bad. Shouldn't have thrown that ball, right? Dallas outrushed the Steelers 144-46. Tony Pollard had 9 rushes for 57 yards. Where's Zeke? $90 million running back. Tony Pollard dominating the Cowboys running game with 57 yards on 9 rushes. The one thing the Steelers did do is they went for 4th and 1 with 43 seconds remaining. They were up 24-19. Quick field goal gives you 27-19, right? Do the math, everybody. Puts them up by 8. Is my math right? They didn't kick the field goal. They handed it off to James Conner. And he took the loss. And the Cowboys got the ball back with a chance to win the game with a touchdown. I get it. Pittsburgh kicker missed a PAT. He missed 2 of them. One of them was blocked, though, I think. But he missed 2 of them, I think. So maybe that's why they didn't kick that field goal. But you've got to kick that field goal, right? Go by 8 to win the game? I get it. You convert that, you win the game anyway because then you just take knees. I get that side of it. But they didn't. And if the Cowboys had any offensive thing, I mean, Cowboys were driving the ball, guys. Cowboys, the new starting quarterback for the Cowboys, Garrett Gilbert, didn't play that badly. Could have done it. Pittsburgh wins, still undefeated. Panthers at Kansas City. We already talked about this. Kansas City did not look good in this game. They won 33-31. That offense was atrocious for the Chiefs yesterday. Didn't look good at all. Mahomes had 45 pass attempts. No balance to Kansas City. They barely ran the ball. He did throw for 372 yards and 4 touchdowns. Christian McCaffrey came back, as we talked about. I was trying to find my McCaffrey notes there. That's why I had to stall. I mean, there was no missing a beat. He went out there like he hasn't missed any time there, Christian McCaffrey. Looked like a stud out there. Looked like he just did before his injury. So he hasn't played in a few weeks. I know his last game was in September. I don't know exactly how many weeks he was out. And it was the main focal point of that offense, like he should be. They scored on the first drive. They went down the field, and McCaffrey did have a touchdown catch on the first drive. He had 28 rushes, 151 yards. Davis went right back to being a nobody again with McCaffrey being back. And as I said, he hurt his shoulder late in the game, so now his status is up in the air again. We'll know more, obviously, as the week goes on here. We talked about this already. Dolphins 34-31. Cardinals rewind. It's going to be interesting this week. I mean, Kyler Murray had a great game. On the Cardinals rewind, I talk a lot about field goals. I talk a lot about the distances the Cardinals feel safe kicking field goals at. Majority of their field goals, I should tally them up and do some math, which we all know is not my strong point. But how many field goals, because they do get some 30-yarders and 20-yarders occasionally, they leave a lot of 50-plus yarders out there. Of course, Dolphins kicker, Jason Sanders, he hit the 50-yard field goal with 3:30 left to go to give Miami the lead in the game. Nailed it. Cardinals then went down, got in the field goal range. I was not enamored by that 3rd-and-1 play call. It's a low throw. I didn't like the play call. 3rd-and-1, and you throw that ball, and he throws it low. Incomplete, so 4th down. 49-yard field goal attempt. I will say this about the 49 field goal attempt. I mean, they just feel comfortable leaving him with long field goals. And he makes them. I get it. I totally get it. I will say this about Zane Gonzalez on these long field goals. He never, ever kicks them short. If he misses them, it's left or right. That's why it was even more shocking when it ended up short. I mean, it was 4 yards short. Utter disbelief it ended up short, to be honest with you. I was shocked it was short. I was like, was that short? Did you guys see that? Was that short? Like, that just missed short. He never misses them short. Shocked the heck out of me. Brian Flores and that Miami Dolphins team. I mean, they're not a great team, but they're a good team. Even with Tua back there. He struggled last week and they won. That defense is going to be world class here in the next couple of years. That defense is a studly defense. Manly defense. It's disappointing for the Cardinals because if they would have won that game, they would have the best record in the NFC. Now they're just mired down at 5-3 with a tough Buffalo Bills team coming in this weekend. They let one they should have won go, and that's what's disappointing. After a bye week, no less. And I was worried about that. Cliff has problems after bye weeks. We get that. I was worried about the team coming out and playing that way. And as I said, I can be really hard on them right now, but I also want to sit back and take in a little bit more. Their defense was decimated again. When their defensive secondary was decimated against the Panthers, they looked like trash then too, right? And they lost. Same thing with the Dolphins. A turnover, 3 turnovers by Kyler cost them that game because they converted them on points. Fumble in this game, turnover on points. Granted, it was early in the game, but it's 7 points you automatically give to the other team, and it causes you to be on your heels right off the bat. Long field goals cost the team in this one, as I just said. Left it short. And here's the other side of it. Pass rush was bad again. When Kennard is out of that defense changes 1,000%. Happened again yesterday. So Cardinals Rewind will be out later in the week, where of course I'll break down this game, and we'll look forward to the Bills game this weekend. That as of now I will be in attendance with. It's my game, my week for my tickets. So Tua was good, man. 20 of 28, 248 yards, 2 touchdowns. He threw balls. I mean, like a veteran quarterback. He was putting balls in places that only his receiver can get him. It was good to watch. I don't think highly of this kid. I don't think he's going to be a superstar in this league. But he impressed me yesterday. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I mean, he put balls in places where rookies don't do. Kyler Murray had a great game. It's hard to, other than that fumble, it's hard to knock Kyler Murray on this, right? Here's the problem though with Chase Edmonds being the running back. Kyler Murray led the Cardinals rushing attack, 11 for 106 yards and a touchdown. He threw for 283 yards with 3 other touchdowns. Christian Kirk stepped up yesterday. Larry had some catches yesterday. The Dolphins figured out how to defend DeAndre Hopkins. And the other receivers stepped up, which was great to see. You expected DeAndre eventually to come back down to earth. It happened. The other receivers stepped up. These 4th down calls are killing me, though. They're just killing me. What are you going to do? Seahawks against the Cardinals' next opponent, the Buffalo Bills, yesterday. Buffalo goes in. They dominated this game. They were up by a lot. 44-34, they beat the Seahawks. This game, I got to sit down and study this game because seeing which Bills team's coming in. The Bills lost a couple games. They should have won earlier in the year, but they are capable of being beat. I did not think the Seahawks were going to lose this game at all. The Bills are now 7-2. Buffalo's offense is good. If the Cardinals, now they should get Kennard and Murphy back this week. Drake Kirkpatrick goes out with his thigh injury or whatever it was, so he should be back this week. So that secondary shouldn't be as decimated against the Bills as it was against the Dolphins. And they need everybody on hands, because all hands on deck, because this Buffalo offense is coming in here and they can move the ball. They can score. They had 420 yards on offense, the Buffalo Bills did. Seattle had 419, by the way. Josh Allen, 31 of 38, 415 yards, 3 scores. Allen looks good. I like him. I like him as a young quarterback. I really do. He looks good. I'm excited to see him in person. Russell Wilson struggled a little bit yesterday. But struggling is still better than most quarterbacks in the league. Baltimore Colts. I was going to play this. I was going to play the play, but you guys have all seen it. Where Phillip Rivers throws the interception and then falls down trying to chase the guy. And then he tries to like grab him as he jumps over him. And then he misses him. And then he just puts his hands down like he's dead. It's the best thing ever. I can't get enough of it. It's so great. But I pick on Phillip Rivers a lot, you know. It was just great. Just watching him just flail his arms, and I actually have it right here. Let me load it up while we're talking about this game. But the Indianapolis Colts defense is on fire. Like last couple of weeks, I've been impressed with them. How they have been, playing, dominating. I was surprised at what the Ravens did to them yesterday. Obviously, the Ravens defense is nothing to, look down on. They're a good defense. They step up against bad teams, but they struggle against good teams. That's kind of what I was afraid of. Miguel says, you doing math? Does that translate into you calling intern for help? That's what calculators are for. Calculate us. Yeah, you don't want me doing math. But I got it right. It was 8. There was an 8-point difference. I did get it right. A lot of teams, man, instead of winning the game and going that route, they're losing, deals on that. So I apologize. You're gonna hear video here real quick while it is fixing its deal. So it's just the Colts defense. Was this just a blip yesterday? The Ravens woke up yesterday, but they've been struggling against good teams. So I don't know what to think of this Baltimore team. I think they're good. I really do. I think they're really, really good. But as good as they are, I also wonder, and it wasn't an interception, by the way, it was a fumble. But it was one of those things where you don't expect. I don't know what to think of this Raiders team, but you don't expect the Colts defense to play that and have those issues, right? So I don't know. I'm the Colts confuse me. I'm just confused by the Colts. I'm a little bit confused by the Ravens. They're a really, really, really good team, but they lose to the Chiefs. They lose to the Steelers a lot, things like that. Let's watch Phillip Rivers here on this fumble recovery from this weird feed I got here on Twitter. Right. Gets it, goes down, fumbles it, recovers it. Oh, Phillip Rivers is going to get him. Oh, man down. Oh. I love how the guy jumps over him and he's trying to like trip him up, and he just gives up and throws his hands on the ground and just lays there. Let's watch it again. I can't get enough of it. I really can't. It's fantastic. He just throws his hands down to my side, just lays there. Fantastic, Phillip Rivers. Embarrassing, but fantastic. I love it. So, I mean, the Ravens' pass defense was good, even though they, of course, were without their star quarterback because of COVID. Humphrey, who went out with COVID last week. Lamar Jackson struggled early, but like I said, he kind of woke up a little bit. That's right. Lamar Jackson had 56 total yards in offense in the first half. Not good. He definitely woke up in the second half. Dez Bryant did start in this game again. First time since 2017, I do believe, if I remember correctly, for the Cowboys. No passes caught this weekend. AB had 3 for 30 yards, I say. Now Dez Bryant had 0. Bears and the Titans. Tennessee 24, Chicago Bears 17. I'm just going to replay my Nagy rants because they're all still valid. Nothing has changed. The offense for the Bears is broken. The Bears, 3 first downs in the first half. They didn't score a point until the fourth quarter. Nick Foles looked like he's never played. Excuse me, I'm so upset I got the hiccups. Nick Foles looks like he's never played football before yesterday. Couldn't hit anybody, whether they're open or not. I'm pretty sure he didn't hit the ground at all either when he threw the ball. The ball somehow floated. It never hit the ground. It was so bad. They did come back into the game with these late garbage time touchdowns, in the fourth quarter. David Montgomery got hurt in the game. They weren't doing anything before he got hurt. My favorite stat of the day, if you're ready for this one. Chicago's longest run of the day was a fake punt by linebacker Barkevius Mingo. That went 11 yards, folks. Woo-wee. The Bears. The Bears. Bears fans. That Matt Nagy has been your problem for years now. 2 years now. Wake up. It's not your quarterbacks. It's not your running game. It's not your offensive line. I mean, they all have their problems. Don't get me wrong. Your coach is bad. Your coach is bad. Bad. Raiders and Chargers. I like Derek Carr. I really do. I think he's a great quarterback. I just think he struggles in this John Gruden offense. I'd like to see him go someplace else, see what he can do on another team. And I do believe that the Raiders do what Derek Carr. If Derek Carr comes out and struggles, the Raiders struggle. If Derek Carr comes out and has a good game, the Raiders have a good game and they win. The Chargers just keep losing games. Herbert is a stud for a rookie quarterback, and the Chargers just can't get over that hump. They're like my rants I had with Dan Quinn in Atlanta with needing a change because they kept losing in bad ways. The Chargers need that with the coaching staff and everybody. Just get them out of there. Get people in there. It's a culture of losing bad late, and it needs to end. It's been going on for years there. Change it. Need to change it. Because you have Justin Herbert there. You had Phillip Rivers in his prime when he was good. Now you got Justin Herbert there as a rookie who's playing in these situations and playing extremely well. The guy's a stud. You've got to get this culture out of there before you ruin him too. Please. Vikings, Lions. Yeah. Dalvin Cook. I said earlier, they should just rename him the Minnesota Cooks. Of course, Dalvin Cook did have a 70-yard touchdown. I mean, that hole was could drive a semi-truck through there. Cook dominated the Lions. The Lions couldn't stop him. 22 carries, 206 yards, and 2 scores. He did have 2 catches for 46 yards. Keep it while he's hot, man. Matthew Stafford went out of this game being evaluated for concussion early in the fourth quarter. He never came back. But, I mean, he struggled in this game. He missed practice, of course, because he was on the COVID list, because he was in close contact with somebody, and it showed. Chase Daniel, who's been a backup for 100 years, making millions and millions of dollars as a backup, not a starting quarterback by any stretch. If Chase Daniel has to go in the game, you're in trouble. He threw one of the worst interceptions you've ever seen from a veteran quarterback ever. Falcons 34, Broncos 27. Falcons are losing the stigma of late game losses, by far. Atlanta's offense is kind of waking up a little bit. The defense is waking up a little bit and playing. I mean, Drew Lock looked lost. Keep in mind, the Broncos are really injured right now. A couple years, the Broncos might be a good team. Just right now, they're just struggling. Jerry Jeudy, 61 yards yesterday. They have another rookie, KJ Hamler. Four catches, 52 yards. That was just in the fourth quarter. Locke spreading the ball around to a bunch of guys. I like this young Denver team. It's just this isn't the year for him. Injuries are just killing him right now. Drew Lock, I mean, if you watch that at the end of the game, I think he threw an interception, if I remember right. And his eyes were like, when he walked off the field. Game hasn't slowed down for him yet. Giants, Washington. I thought Washington was going to win this game by a lot. Giants took this game 23-20. Yeah. Kyle Allen, I showed you his deal earlier. He's going to be out for a while. Alex Smith's going to get the start. My favorite part about this, right, is both teams the Giants are 2-7. Washington is 2-6. They are both one win behind the top spot in the division. But Washington still has the better draft, the draft advantage for the better pick. So, Alex Smith is not going to be their starting quarterback. He came in and threw for 325 yards and a touchdown and 3 interceptions. Yeah, I said that. Including 2 in the fourth quarter. After the game, Ron Rivera was asked if Smith will be the starter moving forward. He said yes. And Dwayne Haskins is done there. Not that I want to see Alex Smith get hurt, but I'm kind of curious what would happen if he did. I really am. Daniel Jones, actually, I call Daniel Jones a turnover machine. He loves to give the ball to the other team. No turnovers yesterday. I got to give him credit for that. Because his 13 turnovers on the season are second most in the league coming into Sunday's game. But none. He finally had none. He does have 36 turnovers in 22 career games. He just can't manage the game right. Daniel, he's just a disappointment in my eyes. But he pulled out the win yesterday. They came out, they held on to the win yesterday. They tried giving it up, but they held on to it. Houston Texans taking on Jacksonville Jaguars. I was reading today, well, Houston won 27-25, but I was reading today that Jacksonville has the hardest schedule of every team in the NFL for the rest of the season. So they're not going to win another game. Jets better not win a game or they're going to lose that first pick to Jacksonville. Deshaun Watson looked good yesterday, both on the ground and throwing the ball. Houston's now 2-6. First road win for Houston yesterday, by the way. Of course, David Johnson did go out with a concussion. I know those are always fun alerts you get on your phone because I had David Johnson in the Blender League. And those are always fun to see when pop up in the first half of a game when you get evaluated for concussion and you know you started him. Ugh. He had 50 rushing yards, Deshaun Watson did. He did get hit a lot. He had 2 sacks, 5 QB hits, 281 yards rushing, 2 TDs. Of course, in Jacksonville, Minshew was out with his broken thumb, so they went with Jake Luton. It was bad. It was a bad game. I mean, they did have the lead early, but it just wasn't a good game. He misread. That's right. He totally misread the defense, and J.J. Watt came in and strip sacked him, and tried to strip sack him, but and then he threw a weird pass that was intercepted. I mean, it was bad. It's what rookies do. Houston's just got awful though. Their defense is bad. I wish they would have traded J.J. Watt at the end there because they're not going to do anything. They're done this year. They're done next year. It's just Houston needs a rebuilding time. So those are the games for yesterday. What games were you guys watching where you enjoyed that? Any games you guys enjoyed being negative on? Or am I just the only one being negative here, right? So, Cardinals disappointing. Seahawks disappointed a little bit. Both Bills look good. I'm nervous for the Cardinals this weekend against the Bills, but at the same time, I'm excited to see the Bills. I want to see what the Cardinals can do against the Bills. It's going to be a high-scoring event. It's going to be a same thing, 44-34 type ball game, just like the Seahawks just had with the Bills, I think. Colts confuse me. Ravens confuse me. Titans are back to being good again. Granted, they play the Bears. Bears are what we thought they were. If the Bears don't get to 10 wins this season, because they should with that schedule, if they don't get to 10 wins, Nagy needs to be fired. Especially with the start they had. As I said, I moved him onto my too hot to even sit down seat. He's just standing there while his seat's burning behind him. Tua is an interesting thing on the Dolphins. He looked good yesterday. He was able to run the ball, move the around. I want to see what he can do as he moves forward. Because that Dolphins team is not bad. And with that defense, if he can just manage the game and not do turnovers, Dolphins can win a lot of games this year. You know, not necessarily this year, but moving forward the next couple of years with them on there. Buccaneers fell apart. Saints look good again. Michael Thomas is the key to that Saints offense. Him in there changed that whole offense around. And it showed yesterday against the Buccaneers. Antonio Brown's going to be a nobody. I mean, he's going to have good games. Don't get me wrong. He's going to have a couple good games. People are going to be like, Antonio Brown's back. But overall, it's going to be just a tempered deal. He's not going to be great. Des Bryant to help that Ravens offense. Didn't help them the other day. They won the game, but they struggled on there. But they were going against the Colts, number one defense in the league, the Colts. That's why I'm confused by the Ravens, right? But they pulled this one out, whereas when they play the Steelers, who have a really good defense, hot garbage. But we did get some comedy with Phillip Rivers just giving up on life and just throwing his hands down and laying there. We did get another bad ankle injury with Kyle Allen, right? Let me load up here since we've been talking. Let me load up and see. Patriots are going to have no fans in their stadium the rest of the season. I did find that came out today. The people that are in charge of that, not Gillette Stadium, but the politicians, the health people, said nobody's going to be allowed to be at any deals. Bruce Arians came out today and said Mike Evans was open a bunch on Sunday. He didn't get targeted at all. Mike was open. That's what Bruce said. Bruce Arians said, quote, he didn't get targeted. That's all. Mike was open, unquote. Bruce Arians throwing his quarterback under the bus again. Done that a lot this year. How's that going to go for them, right? Is that going to continue to be a good deal? In college football, Mississippi State is dealing with COVID issues around their program. They're expected to shut down team activity for a few days. Of course, that puts this weekend's game against Auburn in jeopardy. That news is coming out now. Right? Every radio show on the planet has a poll out today that says which loss was more painful, Cardinals losing to the Dolphins or ASU losing this weekend. It's the talk of the town. I can tell you that answer right now. ASU was the more disappointing, was the more painful loss. They were up by 13, dominated the game, lost it. I think with the Cardinals, we expect the Cardinals to have games like they had yesterday. And that's where it's frustrating. They had the same thing against the Panthers. Same thing against the Lions. We see this with the young Cardinals team and the young coach and Cliff Kingsbury where they do that stuff. It happens all the time. Right? So that's what we're dealing with. All right, guys. Let me just check really quick here. Any NFL, because obviously every coach is doing their press conferences, and Yeah, McCaffrey's status for Week 10 is in doubt. They came out and said today more testing, so pay attention to that later in the week. Of course, we'll have info on that Wednesday and Thursday. Yep, Kyle Allen is getting season injury surgery. Alex Smith will start, so it is season ending according to Washington now, whereas before they were saying it's too late. Nick Chubb for the Browns is designated to return this week to practice. Don't know if that means he'll get in this weekend, but that's some help for these Browns offense that they need as they go forward there. Packers Colts game. This is week 11, so 2 weeks out is flexed to an afternoon game at 4:25. So that's the new stuff that comes up there. So pay attention to at the main event pod as we put breaking stories out and everything. So while you're at work, you can get the alert that what we're posting on breaking stuff if you can't follow these things as they go through. Good weekend of football. Of course, you can find me at SMAC 500. Masters, I think, is the Masters this weekend? I don't know. Alabama LSU game is in jeopardy this weekend after LSU Tigers COVID tests. Let's keep an eye on that. Of course, LSU is not good this year, so I don't even know if that'll be a contest regardless, right? The NBA came out. That's all the headline says. Brief layoff, quick start, worries NBA health officials. Get out of here. These guys are in the best shape of their life. Get out of here. Get out of here with that garbage. So, all right, guys, we'll be back. Excuse me while I talk here. Radio show Wednesday night, 6 to 8 p.m. Of course, Thursday, I'll be back to preview next week, all of that good stuff as we go forward on that. Yeah, that's funny. I left the Phillip Rivers video on there this whole time. And when you produce the show yourself, sometimes you mess it up. So, all right, guys, SMAC 500 at the main event pod, of course. See y'all later. Thanks for watching.